So on my recent video about coyotes and how they don't lure in our dogs, somebody left this comment and I'm kind of glad they did. So the comment reads, "A female in heat will lure a male dog and the pack will unalive and eat them." So long story short, no, this isn't actually a thing that happens. This is people misunderstanding what is going on. But I have 4 reasons why this doesn't actually occur. So first off, there's only one species that I personally know of out there that will use an in-heat female scent in order to attract another species, specifically a prey species. Humans. I'm talking about humans. They are the only species that I am personally aware of that will use an in-heat female scent in order to attract prey animals. You have to remember, for an animal to understand not only what a heat cycle is, but that this will lure other species is a very advanced way of thinking. We can think of that because we have these big evolved monkey brains. A lot of wild animals, especially something like a canine, isn't quite there. The second reason that this doesn't work is a coyote would have to teach this to their offspring in order for them to utilize this technique. They're not able to communicate like you or I, even though they are very vocal animals. They can't teach them like you would in a classroom. They have to learn through example. Coyote pups, they are with their mothers from 6 to 9 months of age. So they're born in the springtime and they leave in the fall time. This means that they're not around when their mother goes into heat the next winter cycle. If they're not around to witness this technique being used, they're not going to learn it. Not to mention, this isn't something that they can practice. You have to remember, when you see like your dog playing with another dog and how they're like tussling and such, or if they're pouncing on something, chasing something down, those play behaviors are how they learn how to hunt and fight and do those kind of things as adults. There's no way to practice luring an animal while you're in heat. That's not something a puppy is able to practice. Third issue that comes up, coyotes aren't in heat for very long. Their heat cycle only lasts from 2 to 10 days on average. So not only are they only coming into heat once a year, because unlike our domestic dogs, they have to have their puppies at a specific time of year or they will not survive, but it's a very short window that they're actually able to breed. The running joke is coyotes are basically like a hydra. You take one out and 2 more appear in its place. The only reason they're able to be this successful and so abundant as they are is because they're able to utilize this heat cycle. Even though it is very short, they are very prolific. In other words, they're not wasting their heat cycle trying to attract your dog once a year. And this brings me into my 4th and final point of why this just isn't a technique that's ever used. Coyotes are only found in the Americas. They're mostly found in North America, here in the United States. Now, I know that shelter employees probably are going to have a hard time believing this, but according to data, our spay and neuter campaigns have been extremely successful to the point where 70 to 80% of all dogs in the United States have been spayed or neutered. So let's just assume that half of those unspayed and unneutered dogs are going to be males. That means there's only 10 to 15% of the population that these coyotes are targeting. It is so unrealistic to expect them to use this very advanced hunting technique in order to target such a small population. They would have to know to use this on intact males. Do they even know the difference between a neutered and an unneutered dog? Who knows? They have to find those intact males in a very small population size compared to the overall population, and they have to find an intact male that is able to escape their yard or otherwise is free roaming. Do you see how this just doesn't make sense for a hunting technique? Overall, this is very high-risk, low-reward behavior, and it doesn't make sense for what we know about coyotes. Coyotes typically don't hunt in packs. They hunt solo, and they'll meet up afterward as a pack, or if they happen to find some good carrion or something else that they can forage, they'll call their packmates over. Coyotes typically will target small prey animals such as mice or rabbits that don't require 2 or more coyotes to take down. They can do it on their own. When they have been observed hunting larger animals such as deer, they'll hunt like a wolf pack does, where they're all going together, not having one coyote lure in the prey. That's a very advanced hunting technique that requires a lot of coordination and a lot of forethought. If we're going to sit here and say that coyotes are smart enough to use this very advanced hunting technique, we also have to sit here and say that coyotes would be smart enough to know that they shouldn't be luring in another predator in the first place. Not only can the dog easily take them out of this existence, but it's very high risk, low reward behavior. If the pack is going to team up, they'd be much better taking down a deer. There's more meat, and the deer isn't going to turn around and hunt them in return. Now, if you have an intact male dog and you are still concerned about coyotes, just remember, your dog is much more likely to smell another female dog down the road from them than they are a female coyote. And for all dog owners, but especially if your dog is still intact, make sure that your dog isn't able to leave your property. There's so many reasons you don't want them to do this, and if it comes down to them chasing a coyote, yeah, the coyote is gonna attack your dog if they feel threatened. So let's all be responsible pet owners and remember that our pets are our responsibility. Their safety is up to us. Don't blame wildlife because you didn't do enough to protect your pets.